Excuse me. Hey, everybody. All 829 of you, 15 of whom regularly watch my videos, but I appreciate you. I got chastised on Reddit for driving while I record, so here I am, focused solely on the camera, in my car, not moving. When I was moving, I was focused on the road and talking to the camera and looking at the road. But hey, not everybody can multitask, I suppose. I hope they're not talking to passengers. God forbid they're a rideshare driver. Anyway, what I want to discuss has nothing to do with that. I don't even know how to approach this. I'm rarely speechless because I usually know how to address things, but this time I don't. What I'm seeing, let me preface this first by saying that I'm going off of what videos were given, okay? And this is pertaining to the Minneapolis fiascos. The formerly pro-Second Amendment crowd is now the you should have stayed home crowd. The amount of brainwashing and mind control that has happened over the last few weeks is just astounding. These are the same people that stuck up for Ashley Babbitt at the Capitol. Okay, they said that she shouldn't have died, which she shouldn't have. That's an objective truth. But now they're promoting the death of this new guy, what's his name? Pretty. Not pretty good. Good Pretty. See, I am under the assumption, evidence-based assumption, that most things that are promoted this fervently are psyops. Now, that doesn't mean that they're not true, though. That doesn't mean that somebody didn't die. That just means that they're being used to accomplish some psychological control over people. So, why are you now pro law enforcement, pro federal government? Why did your allegiances change so quickly just based on who's in office? Those aren't standards. And I think what's really hard for me to touch is the fact that I'm speaking to people, not to my regular subscribers, but to those, on the sidelines that don't have standards. I'm surrounded by people who don't have objective standards. They have political beliefs. And I can't argue against that. There's nothing I can say. There's nothing I can say to show that maybe they're acting emotionally rather than logically. And that's because there's a built-in failsafe against logic. It's, well, you're just a leftist cuck, or you're just a maggot, right? Those are already preloaded into whatever response they would give. And it enables them to disregard any logical argument that I've given and just fall back on mockery and derision. That's not the sign of somebody who has standards or values. That's the sign of somebody who's in a cult. And I don't care, like Brian from Here's the Deal, great name, by the way. He says, if you're in the leftist cult or the rightist cult, it doesn't matter. You're in a cult. You have your morals dictated to you by a politician, an immoral politician. So I ask you, to what end will you support this? Because there's a natural end to your support, and it's not what you want. You guys were supposed to be the ones that, respected the Constitution, right? The First, Second Amendment. Those are what are going to save this nation, right? Unless it's tyranny you agree with. And that happens on the left, and it happens on the right. It doesn't matter. It just so happens that this politician who claims to be conservative, who claims to be a Republican, he has convinced the other conservative Republicans to work against their own benefit. And they've believed him. How is that? How is that? I'll tell you how it is. It's because they go home and they put on whatever state-sanctioned news they choose, and they devour it. The party's final, most essential command was to get the people to deny their eyes and ears. That's what is happening. There's nothing I can do about it. There's nothing that you can do about it if you can see it, and there's nothing that anybody can do about it because they want this. All we can really do is sit back and watch it happen. Because the second that you take up arms against their cause, they see you as a terrorist. And the second you take up arms against the other half's cause, they see you as a terrorist. Doesn't matter that the cause is really the same. It's just split down the middle. It's the same thing. People are upset at the same shit. Oppressive government. They just think that when the guy they get in, they voted for, gets selected, not elected, when that happens, that it's not tyranny. Because it's not being exacted upon them. And for how long? What do you got? 3 years left? Then what? The pendulum's gonna swing the other way, and you're gonna say, oh, where did my rights go? This Democrat that's now in office took my rights away without realizing you cheered for it the entire time. You watched it happen, and you said, fuck around, find out. The Democrats didn't do this in 4 years. You did this year. This is the reason I'm glad I'm not driving for this, because it requires me to speak directly to the people who are thinking this way. If you can't see that your hatred for your neighbor is being fomented to justify evil means or evil ends, then I don't know what to tell you, man. It's fucking right there. Y'all drank the Kool-Aid. Left Kool-Aid, right Kool-Aid. You drank the statist Kool-Aid. What are you gonna do? Is your ego so fucking strong that you can't admit, maybe, we shouldn't keep cheering this on? Is that it? Are you just so fucking egotistical that you can't admit that you were wrong? Or are you so egotistical that you can't even see that you're wrong? Because I think that's what it is. That's what it is, isn't it? The amount of delusional cognitive dissonance that most people are living under is astounding. What are you going to do when they have no more so-called protesters to go after? You don't see the noose tightening around the neck of liberty? You don't see that? You don't see that 26 years late, 25 years later, the restrictions in airports are just as bad as they were right after 9/11. You don't see that. You don't see that the rights never come back, that you allow to be stripped from you. And then what's really crazy is that I get told that if I don't vote, I'm the problem. Because I didn't vote for who they wanted me to vote for. I'm the problem. Well, it's because I didn't see anything objectively worth voting for. I'm against this whole dichotomy of two sides. All it has done is made people absolutely insane. What the fuck do you think the Second Amendment is for? Do you think that it's for hunting? You guys, I'm using your arguments. The Second Amendment isn't for hunting. It's for protecting against a tyrannical government. But you think that because the people that are using it are Democrats, that it doesn't matter, right? You think that because it's Democrats objecting to a Republican, so-called Republican president's orders, that it doesn't apply. But tell me where it doesn't apply. I've not heard a single logical argument. All I hear is justification. And it's not even logical justification. It's just fuck around, find out. Cut off any thought process whatsoever. Guys, we're cooked. If you're watching this 12 minutes in, then it's probably because you agree with me. So this part is directed at you. We're cooked. We either got to realize that and kind of come to terms with the fact that this is the zombie apocalypse. Apocalypse being incorrectly used. But that's what this is. A bunch of violent, unthinking, bloodthirsty psychopaths on each side. They'll justify your death if they think you belong to the other side. How many like me are there? It feels very alone, but I know that there's a few. And what do? Man. And the people that are waking up to the police, everyday police violence and tyranny and this and that, people waking up to that are largely also in favor of ICE. Just because a government says that they're doing something for a particular reason doesn't make it true. Just because the government says something you agree with, that most people agree with, that illegal immigration causes problems. Just because they say that they're putting ICE on the streets to combat that doesn't make it true. It's just like the drug war. Just because they said it was a war against drugs doesn't make it true. It was a war against personal freedom, to quote Bill Hicks, Alex Jones. It's not a war on drugs. It's a war on personal freedom. How many drugs have been arrested? How many drugs have had their lives ruined? I know that's a silly question, but I know of a lot of people who have had their lives ruined over what they chose to imbibe or what they chose to grow. Why? Because it's not a war on drugs. This isn't a war on illegal immigrants. It's a war on you. And some people are so easily duped into believing in untrustworthy government, that they will support this all the way to boxcars, man. It's so sad to see what I grew up hearing as the worst possible scenario, right? Nazi Germany was presented in school as the worst possible scenario. And here we are doing exactly the same shit. The people that grew up hearing about how awful that was are blind to the fact that they're the Nazis. They're the Nazi youth. They're the Nazi sympathizers. They're the guys with their arms up in the rallies. I'd rather be shot. I don't sell my conscience to a politician or to an ideology. I suggest you don't either, because you're worth more than that. That's the real tragedy of this, is that you're worth more than you're allowing yourself to be worth. You are better than those politicians. You are better than the ends they are using you to justify. We all are. We've been convinced that slavery is freedom. Work makes you free. But it was so focused on Nazi Germany while it began here that it just became everyday life to people. And you know, the adaptability of people is a blessing as it is a curse, because if we were a little less or a little more resistant to adaptation to a new normal, maybe we'd fight back a little quicker. But they do it slow enough that even as people speak out against the new normal in 2020 and 2021, they allow it to be pushed forward. Who am I speaking to anymore?